Paltrocast.
Well, aside from having to talk to me, is it a good day for you so far, Griffin?
Yeah, it's been super good. I trained this morning and I just got breakfast with my buddies. And yeah, now I'm doing this.
Now, when you say training, of course, afterwards you have to take something. Is that thing that you take Youtheory?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, every time. Usually the turmeric and the collagen, those are kind of my favorites.
Yeah, Youtheory is just one of the many endorsements that you've had over the past few years, which is pretty incredible. When you started out being a surfing legend, and I called you a surfing legend, did you know about the endorsement game and all that was going to be such a big part of what you did?
No, not really. I mean, when I first started, I was just kind of like everything was just totally focused for surf contests and wanting to be the best surfer in the world, and that's kind of like all I knew. And then yeah, as you get older and you start making these things happen for yourself, then yeah, the endorsements come along with it. And like I kind of figured like, oh yeah, like the main companies like in the surf industry, like I'm sponsored by Quicksilver now, like those were like, I was like, oh okay, yeah, I'll be with one of those companies and just be doing, have to do some photo shoots for them on the side. But turns out, the the higher you go, the more comes your way. So, yeah, now I have companies like Youtheory, which is incredible, and it helps me a lot be able to do what I do and travel the world
Yeah.
and stay healthy while doing it.
Yeah, so that's another part of your game because obviously you want to place high in the tournaments and stay in shape. Then you have all the endorsements. Then people are looking at the Cola brothers for having great social media presences. So you kind of have three jobs going on at the same time.
Totally, totally, and it's been a learning process for sure. Because my main goal is to become a world champion in surfing. So, to stay focused for that can be hard when you have to juggle all these other things. But it's such a big part of what we do, and like to make the best living we can. You want to capitalize on that stuff. And so, kind of what I've realized is like making sure that I take care of all those things and being on it. Like, it all plays a role for these events. Like the more disciplined you can be with yourself on they're almost like these like little breadcrumb tasks, but they end up adding up, and then next thing you know, you got a loaf of bread.
Yeah. Well, your sport is different from just about every other sport, where, for example, a lot of sports people can listen to music while they're doing it. They don't have to pay attention like you do. They're not paying attention to the weather because maybe they're playing indoors or under a dome or that kind of a thing. You have to maintain a level of fitness that you don't necessarily have to if you're a professional bowler or golfer. So there's so many things that you do that are very impressive. Did you know that this is what you wanted to do for the rest of your life when you were a teenager?
Oh, 100%. I think, yeah, as soon as I started doing surf contests, I instantly knew like I was hooked. Like this is what I want to do. I want to become a pro surfer. Like once I had favorite surfers that I looked up to, it's like those are the guys I wanted to become. So yeah, it's pretty rad.
Who was the first celebrity surfer that you became aware of?
Well, my first ever favorite surfer was Julian Wilson, and I was about 8 years old when we watched this movie called Young Guns 2.
Mm-hmm.
That was my eighth birthday, and we put that movie on. He was in it, and he was the youngest kid in the movie. I think he was probably like 16 at the time, but I just like loved the way he surfed, and just his whole vibe was like so sick, and I fell in love with that. And then yeah, and then he put out another movie called Scratching the Surface when I
Mm-hmm.
was probably like 13 or 12. He was probably in his 20s, low 20s, and then that movie got me even more psyched on him, and I kind of tried to like emulate his surfing a lot. And funny enough, he was sponsored by Quicksilver and Red Bull at the time, and now those are my two main sponsors, Quicksilver and Red Bull. So it's kind of a cool, like, just trippy because I watched him so much and wanted to be just like him, and now I have his similar sponsors. So it's like, I don't know, it's a cool little way of life.
I personally have never surfed, but I live in a surf town because of the Scudin family. There's a Quicksilver store on the boardwalk. It's a town called Long Beach on Long Island, New York. Have you been out here for surfing?
Yeah, I actually went out there. We premiered a movie called Reckless Isolation out there, and we surfed those jetties with
Yeah.
the with Will Scudin. I remember he had like a surf school or something. He had a bunch of kids surfing, and we went surfing with them, and it was super cool.
Wow, small world. So, with some sports, people know what they're doing for the next 3 years in advance. For example, they know, oh, if they play tennis, they go, okay, Wimbledon is now, and if I qualify, I'm in that, and the French Open is now. Everything's way booked ahead. I don't know how that works for WSL. How far ahead do you know your bookings?
Well, I know it for my this whole year. I have everything scheduled out. It's all it's all on paper, ready to go.
Hmm. So, after you have a big tournament, what's your life like? Do you get to take a couple of days off?
Yeah, well, some of the tournaments go back to back. So, like Australia is a leg. There's two events there, one in Melbourne, and then one in Western Australia, and then Hawaii. There's two events there,
Hmm.
and so a lot of spots it's kind of like a leg, and so during those times it's kind of like you just kind of in this groove of like surfing, traveling, but then there's maybe like I think throughout the year we probably have like 1 month at home, two times, and like that we just kind of come back in our groove of training with the people we like to train with here, and being around friends and family and stuff.
Hmm. Do you still call California home these days?
Yeah, I call it home 100%.
Got it. So seeing the world, there was no temptation of going, oh, it's really peaceful in Hawaii. I'm going to go there.
Well, I would say Hawaii is probably like my second home, like the North Shore of Oahu. We spend about 2 to 3 months there every year, and the waves are insane. And I've made so many friends there. It's like I got a whole nother family over there. So yeah, it's like my second home.
Do you like to travel when you're not busy with tournaments?
Mm, kind of not really. I think because when we're traveling for the tournaments, it can be pretty taxing after a while.
Yeah.
And so I get home, I'm kind of just like, oh, I just want to cruise.
Hmm. So that's very interesting where you kind of realize, okay, I could travel as much as I want, but I don't want to do that. I want to be home as much as I can. When did you start to hit a wall with going, okay, the travel might be free, but I want to be home? Was that 1 to 2 years into your career?
It's probably like mm, maybe once I got on tour, maybe like I was probably like 22 or something. You know, when I was younger, I was kind of just like wanting to go everywhere just to keep improving my surfing.
Yeah.
And so, and then I got to a point where I was like really happy with the way I was surfing. I didn't want to go places as much.
Hmm.
Um, but like all the ways we go to on tour are like really incredible waves and really good opportunities to improve your surfing at the same time as competing. So it's like, yeah, there's not too much need to try and like go somewhere else.
Got it. Well, two more questions for you, and then I let you go. And if you breeze through these, then we're going to make it three more questions. And
Okay.
the first one is when you're not busy with surfing training and your endorsements in the business end and content creation, where does your time go? Are you a typical boring person that watches a lot of Netflix and sits on their couch, or do you have surprising hobbies otherwise?
Well, I love golfing, so if the waves aren't good, I'm probably golfing with my friends. And then if the waves aren't good and I'm not golfing, I'm probably just hanging out with my friends, just you know, talking about whatever, just having laughs, like doing jokes, whatever. Or and then if I'm not
Yeah.
doing that, then I'm probably either like reading, meditating, writing, and then yeah, I still have times where like I'll go and I'll just sit on the couch and do nothing. Like I think times like that to just completely switch off are good, but it's all a big balance, really.
You didn't mention music. What music are you into when you have control of the playlist, the radio, etc.?
Yes, I'm kind of like I like hip hop. I like I've been listening to this band called Audio Slave that I'm pretty psyched on.
Yeah, Rage
I
Against
think
the Machine and Chris Cornell, great band.
yeah, they're pretty sick. So who else? I don't know. I'm pretty open to like all the genres. So like I don't really have a favorite. I'm kind of just like it's kind of just depends what kind of like mood I'm in. I'll put that on.
And last thing that I want to know, and you just mentioned golf. Usually you'll find somebody who's a professional athlete has that second sport that they're really good at and passionate about. You'd find out Steve Nash was a better soccer player than he was a basketball player. You find out, hey, Deion Sanders, good baseball player, but really more of a football player. There's that kind of a thing. What's your second sport? Is it golf?
Probably golfing and snowboarding. Like golf, yeah, I love snowboarding. I grew up snowboarding, going to the mountains like almost every weekend. And so if I can it's just hard. I can't really do that as much now because the time when snowboard season starts, it's like
Mm-hmm.
our season's pretty much getting ready to start too. So it's just a little dangerous for me to kind of risk
Yeah.
my body snowboarding when my season's about to start.
But fortunately, you have golf, so now you have the sport that you could play when you're really, really old. So in other words, you have
Oh
your
yeah.
young era sport, and then you have your old era retirement sport.
Oh, 100%. I've been thinking about that. Like, when I retire, I'm just gonna golf and snowboard. Like, I'll probably do that more than surf, honestly.
Well, thank you for your time. Really looking forward to what's to come from you as a businessman, as an athlete, and so forth.
Yeah, Darren. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Paltrocast.